Good morning, everybody. Thrilled to be here from Watkinsville, Georgia, and to see some friends on here with me, where I wear a different hat, but it's good to see y'all. I'd also want to recognize Sharon Dickerson, our city manager. She's here with me as well. Sharon, give everybody a wave. Sharon makes things happen in Watkinsville, what I like to call Georgia's best small town. And if it's okay with you, Stephanie, at this point, I'm going to share my screen and work through my presentation, and happy to answer any questions at the right time.
Thank you.
Okay, can everybody see the screen? Show me a thumbs up or something. Okay, good. I see some heads nodding. So Watkinsville, we are located in Northeast Georgia, just south of Athens, about 60 miles from Atlanta. We have a population of nearly 3,000 people, and we're in a rapid growth mode in the city. We didn't grow a lot in the last census tract, but we are growing now due to new development. We also have one of the state's top public school systems. And I like to tell people our suburbs or cities, including Athens, Madison, and Lake Oconee. So that helps people kind of triangulate where we are. We're a small city. Our budget's around $2 million. We have a city manager, Sharon Dickerson, who joined us today, as well as a small staff that tends to the needs of our citizens. We handle trash pickup, public safety, and contribute to a variety of other public services, but public-private partnerships like this are how we get a lot of things done. So we're excited to share some of our opportunities and challenges with the researchers who are on today and see if we can find something else that would work for us and help us solve some of our issues. We have a lot of opportunities, and we're thankful for that. I've talked to a lot of small town mayors who are looking for opportunities. We're choosing from opportunities, but it also means we have some challenges. But we've done a lot of the basics through the years that have laid the foundation for a healthy community. We utilize a form-based zoning code, which has been super helpful through the years, so we can define what we want. We're not in danger of having a McDonald's plop down among these historic buildings on our main street, for example, and ruining our downtown aesthetic. We're also home to ESP, which creates transformative experiences for people of all abilities. So as we talk about diversity and inclusion, I would argue ESP is probably the state's premier nonprofit that's focused on those kind of issues. And I think there's some additional connectivity we can do there. And we'll talk a little bit more about ESP later on in the program. But they're in Atlanta, Rome, and Watkinsville, and have some really innovative program and host thousands of students each year, thousands of young people and adults each year with disabilities. We have 13 independent restaurants. We have a relatively healthy main street with a mix of businesses. We also have about $200 million in ongoing development and as much as $100 million planned that's coming at us. So we have a lot coming for our little town. We recently established a downtown development authority. We're advertising for an executive director. So that's another tool in the toolbox for our researchers who understand community development. And we're working to get a public facilities authority authorized as well, which gives us some bonding and borrowing tools that we don't currently have. Broadly, our approach in our town, we're a 1 mile radius town. So if you put a pin in at one of these buildings and you you go out 1 mile in any direction, that's our radius from downtown Watkinsville. But our plan is to continue to densify our downtown and preserve as much green space as we can. But in order to densify, we need to support other ways of getting a variety of citizens around our community. We do have a transportation and mobility plan that was done with some consulting partners and was adopted 3 years ago that we're continuing to execute on. Some of our challenges are things that I might have alluded to. We have rapid residential growth, both outside the city in particular. We have some new growth in the city. We also are what I like to call Georgia's freight bypass. We have a lot of tractor trailers coming through our community as a result of the growth of the ports. We have a very linear main street, as you see in the image there. And what that creates is a main street where pedestrians are sometimes challenged by truck traffic. We have 1,000 trucks per day running down that little strip of road that you see there. And it creates some real challenges for our citizens and for our retailers and our business owners as we're trying to create a vibrant downtown. We've got a dramatic increase in housing prices, limited affordable inventory. As I said earlier, we have a small budget, inclusive of some SPLOST funds. It may be $2.5 million, but $2 million is the number that we usually use. But a lot of big dreams and expectations. We have not done a lot with technology outside of some public safety investments, and so I'm curious about that. So we don't have a lot of technology and resilience infrastructure in Watkinsville. I did put together kind of some thought starters for our researchers, but obviously I don't want to limit anybody in terms of where your head goes for Watkinsville, and happy to discuss it further. In terms of resilience, Highway 441, which does run on the outskirts of Watkinsville, and the business portion of that runs through, is a federally designated EV corridor. But we have struggled with our small budget to figure out a way that we might be able to get charging infrastructure installed, affordably to support our businesses. And we see that that could be a huge way that we pull travelers in. Highway 441, for those of you who don't know, is a huge travel corridor for people from the Midwest and the Northeast traveling to Florida. So if we could pull more of those people into our community to shop at our restaurants and dine at our restaurants and shop at our retailers, that would be a big win for us. We also have not found a cost-effective way to deploy much solar. We do have three city-owned buildings, where we might be able to deploy solar and save on energy costs. But again, the capital costs are really intimidating in a city with a $2 million budget that's trying to do a lot with those funds. In terms of mobility and equity for all, I mentioned extra special people earlier. The playground that you see here is Northeast Georgia's first fully accessible playground. We did that as a public-private partnership with extra special people. What you don't see to the right of that is also a ball field, a Miracle League ball field, but this is called the Playground of Possibilities. The city invested $400,000 to do that in partnership with extra special people who bore the bulk of the cost for that. But we've had 12,000 kids of all abilities use that playground in the 4 months since it's opened. But I'd like to explore, our downtown sidewalk network right now is not accessible to all. It's not for someone in a wheelchair, someone who's visually impaired. We have some real challenges of how they get around downtown. In fact, we have a Georgia Power pole sitting right in the middle of one of our sidewalks. And on those sidewalks, just next Monday, we'll host thousands of children to trick or treat. We'll have a Christmas parade with thousands of people around the holidays. So we could use some help there potentially. We also have the congestion downtown that I mentioned. We have 3 traffic signals there that sometimes function well together and sometimes don't. And then we also have a newly constructed sidewalk to one of our elementary schools, but we have some gaps in our street grid where we might be able to use some advice and counsel on how we can address that. And then in terms of smart cities, we haven't made a lot of investments, as I said, in technology, but we do have some license plate reading cameras that have been installed that we're using mainly for public safety. We have a speed detection system. We have a police department that's very progressive in terms of their use of technology for their size. So we'd certainly be interested to see if there's any ways that we can leverage those resources, or if there's public safety ideas. Our police chief is very, very forward thinking and knowledgeable about technology and how we might leverage it. We do have a very safe community right now, and we're thankful for that. We've continued to invest in our police department, but again, ideas around smart cities infrastructure, we're wide open. The picture there, I will just highlight, we have a really neat new development coming in called Wire Park. It's a 6-acre under roof mixed use project that'll have residential around it, includes a brewery, a food hall, more than 300 jobs, professional jobs will be there, in addition to a variety of restaurants and retailers that are coming too. So we do have that population growth coming, and we don't have the budget to really expand our police department rapidly. So any way that we can use technology perhaps to better serve our citizens would be helpful. So Stephanie, that's my presentation. We do have a robust website. If any of the researchers want to look at it, copies of our transportation plan, copies of most of our public improvement plans are all posted there, and happy to answer any questions when the time is right.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Brian. If anyone has any questions for Brian, please do throw them in the chat. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I know that you might have to run before we have a chance to get to our breakout groups, but he made it super easy for us when it comes to discussion, because he went ahead and broke all of his questions out into 3 separate slides in all of our different categories that we're focusing on today. So thank you so much for doing that. And we'll make sure that we get everyone connected who would be interested in working with the city of Watkinsville with Brian when at the close of this event. Are there any questions for him? Please do feel free to just go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any research related questions or other questions. Yes.
Hi, Stephanie, and hi, everyone. Maybe before I leave, short period. So yeah, we're glad to be here. Thanks, dear Brian Roderick. So for the smart cities, so was there an initiative? I mean, did you start something, or it's still at the conceptualization level? I mean, the design level.
Yeah, we really don't have a particular initiative. Again, with our resources, it's been kind of ad hoc. But what we've realized is we can kind of have a force multiplier effect with some of the technology investments that we've made. For example, the license plate readers or capturing people who don't have insurance, or if there's a silver alert or amber alert, you know, we can utilize that technology to locate a senior citizen who might be out and might not know where they are, or if there's an amber alert, we can catch a bad guy when they come through the city and that's flagged immediately. Or again, if someone hasn't paid their insurance, it allows us to notify them. We send them a ticket and move from there. But we really, again, with the budget that we have not really built a kind of a smart cities program, but I knew that was one of the three buckets there. And we're trying to be innovative and progressive in terms of how we can leverage technology for greater efficiency in a small city. So we're open to ideas.
Thank you. I asked this because I think, dear Brian, it's ideal when a city is small. It's ideal for test bed, a prototype. I mean, a smart city prototype. This is what I'm asking. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? All righty, perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much to the Mayor of Watkinsville. Thank you. All righty, so our next speaker is going to be from the Rowan Foundation. I think Mason Ailstock is going to be giving their presentation. Mason, you can feel free to take it away whenever you're ready.
Great, thanks, Stephanie, and great to be with you all this morning. Great to hear from Mayor Broderick, who's also been a great supporter of the Rowan project as well. And I have my colleague Bob Hughes, founder of HGOR, and leads our development planning efforts. So we're really excited to share Rowan, and I'll start off before I bring the slides up. We really think of the project as a living laboratory. It's in the very early stages of development, and a lot of opportunity for us to connect with wonderful, smart people like yourselves and your colleagues to figure out how we can use the real estate and the community that we're creating as a place that is not just a best practice, but really sets a standard for future generations. So we'll walk through a few slides here. Can everyone see my screen? We're good? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. So jumping in, the foundation acquired about 2,000 acres in September of 2020, and that 2,000 acres has a great history to it and where it provided for generations in the community through the land, through how it was cultivated, how it was connected, and how it was used as a platform for growth. And Rowan, the idea of Rowan actually came about through an agricultural term, which means a second harvest, the word Rowan. And that was actually, I'll give full credit with everybody on that was founded by Brian. And we didn't have a name for the project up until just a couple of days before we went public, and his brilliance led us to the name Rowan, which just fits so well because we think about that 2,000 acres and how do we use it in a new way to cultivate future generations, take that strength, have a strong organization, and then look to the future for opportunity. So the Rowan Foundation owns this 2,000 acres. It is all undeveloped, dirt roads, beautiful environment. Previous owners were removed. All of the non-native landscaping, vegetation that's on about 1,000 acres of the property. So beautiful piece of land. And the mission of the foundation is to really use that land to advance research, innovation, public-private partnerships that help to connect higher education with industry in a way that they focus on the solutions of the future. So we think of ourselves as a knowledge community that's place-based and bringing in this education component using this graphic kind of on the left with universities, colleges, all the way P through 12 and other nonprofits, as well as private companies, startups, venture capitalists that come together within a knowledge community. And our output, it is economic development, but it's not just economic development for jobs' sake. It's economic development in creating a more accessible, equitable community and finding those solutions to the global challenges and local challenges that we all have to address through our work and through our lives. We have spent the last 2 years in the community listening first, communicating our mission and vision, educating people around what a knowledge community even means. That information has been tremendously helpful as we have been in person as well as on Zoom with hundreds of people surrounding the Rowan property and beyond, as we've built a network across the state to inform our vision and mission as we lead into the start of construction on site. We've created a great board of directors that starts with our higher education institution partners at Emory, Georgia Tech, the University of Georgia, and Georgia Gwinnett College, as well as Arthur Tripp, who has strong connections in agriculture and back to Washington, D.C. And Sam Hinton, his family was one of the early landowners and brings a great community voice to our board. And then we will round out this board with industry executives from the fields of medicine, agriculture, and the environment to bring this balance of market and innovation in those programmatic drivers. This is how we think of ourselves, and you could put any university, college, institution logo on here, but these are our current board members. So this is how it's framed on this slide. But Rowan is really wanting to position ourselves as a place that connects the resources and the wisdom from multiple higher education institutions and creates a physical place where those partnerships can create something new, something different. It's not to replicate Midtown. It's not to replicate the great things going on in Athens with the innovation district there. It's to say, what are those points of intersections around agriculture, medicine, and the environment where Rowan can be that connector and do something that otherwise would not be possible. So here's our programmatic drivers. I've mentioned those already, how we think about them. They are very important and tie back to the history of the land, but also the strengths of our state and our economy, the strengths of our institutions, as well as how they do intersect across industry segments in and of themselves. And we also think about the enabling technologies that could be robotics, sensors that really transcend agriculture, medicine, and the environment and create new opportunities, new ways to think about that technology and integrating it into Rowan's vision and the types of companies that we want to recruit. So a few examples, just how we think about those and how they do connect across the industry sectors. We have a statewide mission and vision in the work that we're doing. We have that physical location in Gwinnett County, but how we want to impact, how we want to connect and bring value really is about the entire state of Georgia from the coast to the mountains, and leveraging the strong economic diversity that we have in this region and the many number of higher education institutions and strong industry partners we're able to connect with. This is the property itself. We have about 500 acres south of Highway 316. And if you've driven University Parkway, Highway 316, it's about 35 miles from Atlanta, about 33 miles or so to Athens. Ultimately, at full build out within the property, we can accommodate at least 22 million square feet. At a high level, this is a land use map just to kind of give you a sense of how we're thinking about development density and capacity. Starting with this gray area, this is a lower density research innovation campus type of setting where it could be companies, partners that are looking for 10 acres up to 50 acres or more. The orange area is medium density, so that's companies that could be looking for 2 acres to 10 acres roughly. And then the blue-gray is intended to be a technology village. It's a denser kind of community that has buildings that could be 8 stories or fewer, but they are more closely knit together with public space and parks. And there's a trail system and other ways to move around the 2,000 acres of land throughout the property. So not just within the technology village area, but all the way up into the campuses and the other parcels as they develop. At 50% build out, we target having around 55,000 jobs. So this is a job center of the future, which means we're thinking about things like transportation and connectivity, regional transportation, as well as interior transportation to Rowan, which I'll speak about here in just a second. We're thinking about, because it's ground up development, we're able to be as creative as we want to be in putting infrastructure in the ground, sensors, new technologies. Brian had talked about smart cities, things that the foundation doesn't have an expertise in, but we know others do, and want them to be able to come in and contribute at this very early stage so that we can integrate those ideas into the development. And Bob, feel free to jump in. I know we have a shorter amount of time, and Brian as well. You guys, if you have thoughts or things that I'm missing, feel free to chime in. This is the village area itself. So again, more of a streets and blocks and open space as it comes together. At the center of the property, there'll be residential, there'll be office and lab space, as well as a convergence center where we envision multiple institutions coming together and co-locating and having a common home, a convening point. Our first phase of infrastructure will break ground next month, and that'll be 2 miles of complete streets. So trails, landscaping. We're managing stormwater with the median and actually following site certification with the U.S. Green Building Council, and really keeping the environment and sustainability at the core of how we think about Rowan and our mission. That we want that to transcend into the individual developments that will happen within the project as well. When I spoke about connectivity, this is helpful just in giving some context around scale. We overlaid the 2,000 acres in Midtown and Athens, the Perimeter Center, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, and just highlighting one, if you look at Midtown, going all the way down to the Capitol, over to Piedmont Park, over to Atlantic Station, up to Perimeter Center, and the scale that encompasses just in geography. And when we talk about a multi-generational project, this is really curating a community. We're not just looking to sell land. So we'll be very intentional in the partners we recruit and how they're integrated into the development model. And then the one other one I'll point out is in Athens, which has, I think it's the second largest transportation network in the state in getting students and others around the UGA campus. And there's 3 UGA campuses could fit within the 2,000 acres of Rowan. So we have to be very intentional around how we think about circulation, how we think about connectivity. And as development moves forward, we're putting in that infrastructure to proactively stay ahead of growth. And then think regionally around how does that connect to the main thoroughfares into Atlanta, into Athens, and across North Georgia. We've benchmarked against some really exciting and familiar innovation communities around the world, including Research Triangle Park, also Utrecht Science Park in the Netherlands, which is focused on really wellness and the environment and kind of the whole experience a person has at a place, not just to work, but the environment that they're surrounded by. And each of these has an interesting thread that we've woven into the vision and mission for Rowan. Significant economic impacts over the next 50 years around jobs, but also just economic activity and construction activity, ongoing labor income. And these are resources that as the foundation sells land, we will still be the stewards and responsible for the infrastructure, the common area, the land uses, the jobs that are a part of the project, and making sure that these resources are not just contained within Rowan, but really bring value back across Gwinnett County, across the state. I mentioned our development timeline. So again, we'll break ground in November. That will take around 15 months to complete for that first 2 miles of roadway. Parallel with that, we'll be speaking with companies that would have an interest in locating in Rowan, remaining engaged with the community, focusing on our SWMBE target of 30% for all of our contracting. So we're about to really bring Rowan to life, building on that great thought leadership work we've done for the past 2 years, and starting to move dirt and get companies engaged. This is the last slide, and I did not put the intentional thought into this that Brian did. So happy to answer questions or have direction from Stephanie further, but you can see that there's really endless opportunities for how we could think about Rowan as a living lab and connect in many different ways, whether it's the mobility and equity path, smart resiliency, thinking about energy efficiency and sustainability, or technology that we can integrate into Rowan itself, or perhaps in partnership with Gwinnett County. So all of those are really exciting. And our challenge within the foundation is taking a list of great ideas that could be 100 and sorting those down to the 3 exceptional ideas where we can invest in them and prioritize partnerships and time to put them to work. And that's where we would love to have a conversation to get into that in more detail.
Perfect. Yes, I think you gave our researchers plenty of food for thought, a lot of really good transportation type of related information, as well as potential smart resilience projects as well. So I think that what's going on with Rowan is a super exciting opportunity for researchers to be able to get involved with at this point. So that being said, does anyone have any questions for Mason or the Rowan team at this time? And I do hope that we're all thinking about what kinds of ways that research can help in the underlying projects here. I see some nodding heads, so that's good. Any questions? Please feel free to just unmute yourself if you want. I want to make sure I hold enough time.
The last thing I'll say while folks are thinking, because we're at that point of convergence, what we really want to see when we think about a living laboratory at Rowan are multiple institutions coming together that otherwise perhaps have not partnered or have a new reason to partner. So there's agriculture connecting with technology, or health science around social impact, and thinking about it that way. So there are 2, 3 more institutions collaborating, and Rowan serving as that test bed.
Yes. So researchers, those of you who, I think almost everyone here is from a different institution and from a different discipline. So those of you who are looking around, that is a absolutely great segue to our next phase of the event, which is going to be where our researchers are going to have a chance to share their research interests, potential projects that they would be interested in working on. And then hopefully we can start making some matches and brainstorming ideas for proposals that might benefit the city of Watkinsville and the Rowan Foundation. So with that being said, I do just want to take a really short 5-minute break to get everyone a chance to just grab a cup of coffee before we get into those researcher presentations. But just really quickly before I break everyone, I know we have a couple of representatives from community organizations on the line. And so I was just wondering, is there anyone else who wanted to give some input from the community perspective for our researchers, or anyone who wants to share any additional thoughts? Please do feel free to let me know. I'm happy to cede the floor a few minutes. All right. Oh yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing that I failed to mention during my presentation, and as I was listening to Mason and Bob, Mason had always spurred some ideas. But one thing that we'd also love for y'all to think about in terms of Watkinsville is, have you seen any great examples around inclusive housing policies that might support the population that's served by extra special people, adults with disabilities, or anything that addresses housing affordability, particularly as it's related to tiny homes, or some creative ways that we might work to solve that problem without creating, a certain density of housing affordability, which can create challenges, that we've seen in other communities. So if you have any creative ideas on how equity for all ties in together with housing as it relates to this population in Watkinsville, that's really important to us and important to how we view inclusivity, that would be super helpful as well.
Yeah, great. Perfect. So lots of really good threads that could potentially be followed there. Alrighty, so guys, I do just want to take a quick 5-minute break. Please do not go super far. We will start back up again in 5 minutes. We definitely don't want to lose anyone in the break. So just a quick 5 minutes and we will be back before, let's say before 9:45. All right. All right, guys, we'll see you in just a minute. All right, so the first researcher that we're going to be hearing from this morning is Dr. Yin. Are you ready to present? We'll have about 5 to 7 minutes, but I will tell you we're not on a huge time crunch, so I'll probably give you a warning through a personalized chat about 1 minute out, just in case. All right, guys. Dr. Yin, whenever you're ready.
So can everyone see my screen? Okay, okay, thank you. So good morning, and I'm from the Georgia Southern University, and I'm a social professor of biostatistics. Oh, my name is Jingjing Ying, and since I'm a biostatistician, so my research contains two parts. First is the stats part, so it's more about methodological research in the statistics, and also I think more relevant to today's meeting is for the biology or bio collaborative part, which involving the like statistical analysis, study design in terms of the field of medical science, environmental science, and public health. Let me just do the full screen. Okay, so and for this specific area, so for example, for the survey and study design, I can help with my investigator collaborators about like whether you're involved in stratification or whether you consider matching for your samples, and also randomization of the data, the sample, and also we can do the power analysis according to the given the limited resources, and also we can do the optimal sampling design. And actually the optimal sampling design is one of my statistical research, and I have done extensive statistical research about the new method about developing the sampling design to have more efficient and more accurate samples. And also for the statistical analysis as a biostatistician, what I do for the investigator is about like we can do hypothesis testing about like the drug efficacy or the treatment efficacy, or like we can investigate the effectiveness of the intervention program. And we can also do regression modeling to finding the associated factors or adjusted effect about the intervention. And if you have missing data in your samples, right, then we can do the data imputation using statistical methods to replace the missing data with imputed values. And if you have collecting data over time, what I can also analyze is using a repeated measure longitudinal data analysis if you have individual level data. And if you have the summarized aggregated data, we can also do the time series modeling. And another topic is for the ROC analysis, and which is for like the screening or diagnosis test. And this one can also be extended to applying the intervention evaluation or treatment evaluation. So for the like prognostic outcome about certain treatment, etc. And this ROC analysis, I also done extensive methodological research about those diagnostic medicine field. Okay, and the last big part about my collaborative research is heavily involved with big data analytics, especially the text mining. And so we can do the sentiment analysis to detect, to summarize the tone of the message, whether it's positive or it's neutral tone or it's selective tone. And we can also have the content analysis to summarize what's this message or this all that whole text is about in the few words. And we also can classify the content into different topics during the topic modeling. And if you're also interested in the how those text message or how those social media message spread across the network through the follower network, through the tweeting network, we can also do the network analysis. So in this way, we can see how the information disseminate across the general public. Okay. So, and in terms of for this initiative, I think my expertise can be applied to the disaster response, especially if utilizing the social media like big data platforms, and for the government or the municipal agencies to do the data collection and the information dissemination through the social platforms. So here are some of the past research have done, which are closely related into the disaster response. For example, for this one, the first paper, the CDC Grand Rounds and the Vital Signs. So this is CDC Grand Rounds is basically like a platform or like a social Twitter account for the for dissemination information about the disease to the general public. And the vital signs is more like a data collection. So the CDC interactively communicate with the people on the internet to obtain the risk of the disease. So that we can respond quickly if there's any emergency like infectious disease outbreak. And also the other papers is talking about like how the school respond to the disaster, the natural disaster. Like these two papers talking about the hurricane. And also the last one is talking about wildfires in California. And you can also think about the infectious disease as one of the natural disaster. And you can think about, so if we're not handling the infectious disease at the early stage effectively, then it will become an outbreak or even a pandemic, like what we're experiencing past few years about the COVID-19. And we also done some research about the influenza, Ebola, and the MERS. So we can use these such social media, big data analytics to quickly get public communications on the social media, and so we can react quickly if there's lack of resources during any natural disaster. Okay, and another part I'm interested to work with for this program is about how we can utilizing the data to help improve the municipal operations. So we can use the data to evaluate during the current operation, whether it's effective or is there anything that we can improve during using the statistical modeling and hypothesis testings. And we can also, if you have new improvement or like intervention program, and you would like to see how effective they are, we can also test the impact of the newly operation interventions. And these are the past research I have done for the organizational intervention or the evaluations. And you can see that the first one is talking about a hotel, about the risk management for the water contamination. And this paper is talking about the compliance about PPE wear for the wastewater factory. And this one is talking about an intervention program to evaluate how it is effective to reduce the hospital-acquired infection. And this paper is talking about for the public health agencies, how their employees think about the health equity and other social determinants of health. And the last one is talking about the state health department, how effective they utilizing their YouTube account, social media to to promote health for the general public. So all this research is talking about like evaluating organizational operations or the interventions. And I also done some stats research, and which I will be brief since I think this I need a whole day to discuss in detail. So first part is my major focus is on the statistical methods for the diagnostic and prognostic, and basically they're talking about evaluation, the diagnostic accuracy about like diagnostic tests or biomarkers or even medical devices. And we can also extending the diagnostic to the prognostic evaluation. So basically you can see how the treatment is working fine for the prognostic outcome. And we're using the RC traditional measures and like sensitivity, specificity, and we also develop new measures compared to the RC measures. And these can be extended to the like intervention efficacy evaluations as well. And also I did a lot of statistical research in terms of how we can do the optimal sampling methods so that we can reduce the sample size. Thus, if you reduce your sample size, you're also reducing the cost of the study. And also, we can reduce the bias and the variances of your estimation so that actually your eventual results will be more accurate and reliable. And the last part, I'm also done a lot of research about the statistical inference, particularly about hypothesis testing, like you can do for multiple variables, and you can also do for order restricted inference, which are useful if you have a lot of variable of interest and you want to testing them simultaneously. Okay, so I think that's all about my research. And if you have any questions, you can ask. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Yeen? I think she actually opened up a lot of good possibilities, because I feel like something like this could easily be an addition to any type of project, right? To kind of enhance what data you're receiving and hone in on actually the best sample size. Any questions about her work so far? Okay. Let's move. Thank you so much, Dr. Yeen. We really appreciate your time this morning, and we look forward to the discussion a little bit later about how we can plug this in our two communities. I think the next person we have is Dr. Hajati.
I am clicking on share. Let's see. This is good morning, everyone. I'm still trying to get this PowerPoint. Okay.
We're seeing, yep, there we go.
Yeah, all right. Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity, Stephanie. And I make sure next time I check in my trash bin to make sure I don't miss anything. Yesterday, I found your instruction in the trash bin, and that was the reason I contacted you, because I couldn't really see that email. I would like to just give everyone some examples about the work that I have been involved related to research. First one is about the community research that we are still busy. This research is Valdosta Smart City Project, and I worked with Dr. Ashuri from Civil Engineering at Georgia Tech and the city of Valdosta, and the two leading company in technology, Temple and Applied Information. And the objective was that to have 128 intersections in Valdosta connected, and also making sure to have preemption in 10 fire trucks. And let's see if my screen is locked. Okay. So we are a department made of physics, engineering, and geosciences. And I participated in this project because of the capabilities of students. We have engineering transfer program as well as BS degree in engineering, and we get very capable students that their intention is to transfer to Georgia Tech or other leading schools all over Georgia or elsewhere. And I am involved in CAD, teaching CAD, mechanics, heat transfer, and energy related. And my students, they are very capable in developing CAD models, simulations, and animations. And one of the work that they did, they looked at several intersections around universities and VMS Valdosta middle schools that we had pedestrian crossing, and based on the study that they did, we had a lot of close call at the intersections. And in fact, one of the intersection is near the Union. As you can see here, significant number of students every day, they cross from the intersection, and we came up with the survey data and also with the statistical analysis and observing the traffic to determine what is the best way to solve problems in that area. And these are my students that are looking at the traffic measurement presenting at Georgia Capitol. And Dylan, as you can see here, he has a 3D model of one of the intersection in his hand. We did that using the CAD models and also the 3D printing to be able to point out the situation at different intersection, and this way is very important way to communicate with the decision makers and also with the engineers. In fact, one of the impact that we made is regarding one of the intersections near the Valdosta Middle School, and I pointed out at the very beginning of the project that there was a situation that a view of a driver that is driving on the right side of the street will be sometimes blocked by a car on the left-hand side, and this car does not really see the pedestrian. The driver will miss the pedestrian, and we have had several situations with close call. In fact, happened to me, and I realized that the best way to convince the city engineers and official was by modeling and animation, and we created an animation, and we created actually the situation that happens, you know, that the view of a driver blocks, and as a result, the city added some additional lights, solar activated lights with additional sign, and based on the feedback from many members of the community, now it is a significant improvement in the safety. I like to switch gear and talk about other impact that our program and our engineering program has made to the community. There was several years ago that a $150 million project for a company that involved in the manufacturing of bottles. You know, the company was Hourglass, and several investors from overseas, from Spain and other countries, they were deciding to choose a city to decide whether they should move in South Georgia or other places in Florida to build this manufacturing company. And I was involved with the development authorities in Valdosta and Lowndes County, and the major concern that they had was regarding technical forces. And if this company that is manufacturing glass from raw materials, the glass bottles, whether they are going to attract engineers and technical people to stay in Valdosta and work for them. And I was trying to use my experience with this similar company that is Packaging Corporation of America. We have this manufacturing company that they use pine trees that we have millions of them maybe in South Georgia that they convert it to a paper product. And I have worked for 10 years in research area related to manufacturing of forest product in general at Georgia Tech Institute of Paper Science and Technology. And I used my experience and told them that we have this Packaging Corporation of America, which within 15 miles away from Valdosta, and they use all kind of engineers, chemical engineers, mechanical, electrical, industrial, and they have no problems in attracting engineers. And I tried many different ways of convincing them that it will be fine. And interestingly, after 4 years later, from the conversation and presentation that we had with this hourglass, they finally decided to develop their manufacturing company in Valdosta area. And this is really, I think, is a very good contribution regarding the convincing of a company to come up in this area. As you know, we are in South Georgia, and we are more than 100 miles from any engineering schools. And that's why there is a very strong justification for additional development of our engineering program. I also have been involved in bioengineering, and I worked for many years in the area of ceramics and products used for dental and other biomaterials. And one of the strong capabilities that we have regarding modeling, as I have mentioned, using CAD and computational techniques like finite element analysis. And this is some of the results that, in fact, with the involvement of Georgia Tech faculty and myself and students, we were able to publish a book chapter related to analysis of stresses and strengths in ceramic materials. So I'm using this example to just mention to you regarding computational capabilities of our students. And one of the reasons that I am here is to find opportunities for my students that are very capable students. They are sophomore and juniors, and that was perhaps one of the major contributing factor that our project with a smart city was one of the top 3 projects last year in the world. You know, as Stephanie has mentioned this before, we were very proud that we were one of the top cities, and the engagement of our students had a major effect on that. I am having some difficulty moving forward with my slides. So these are some examples of our computational capabilities in the area of dental restoration that I am using finite element analysis. And this can be used in anything, any kind of modeling and simulation can be done nowadays with finite element analysis, that we have significant experience in that area, not only in the area of bioengineering, in the area related to other fields. And another aspect of our experience is related to energy efficiency and optimization. And we have been involved with the projects with the paper industry to reduce the amount of energy used by manufacturing of paper product. I just like to stop at this time because I am having some difficulty forwarding my slides, and I will be glad to answer any question. Thank you for the opportunity.
All righty. Thank you so much, Dr. Jati. Yes, like he mentioned, just to brag on that project for a little bit, the Valdosta project that previously worked with the partnership with the Georgia Smart Communities Challenge actually won a Smart 50 award earlier this year. And last year, they were a finalist for a World Smart City Award. So the work that those students did specifically in those traffic engineering studies was recognized all over the world. So I know Brian with Watkinsville mentioned some intersection issues, so there could be a good fit there for, you know, evaluating those intersections, some potential opportunities, and certainly as far as traffic engineering, Valdosta has done a lot of work on, you know, bolstering that program. My apologies to Dr. Chin. I accidentally skipped over her earlier. So let's go ahead and kind of go backwards and allow her to present. If you are ready, Dr. Chin. Thank you so much, Dr. Hajati.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm trying to sharing my document. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, good morning, everyone. And here I want to share my background and also the past research work I have done. And currently, I'm associate professor of logistics and supply chain management in Savannah State University. I'm original from China, and here is my education background. And during the past years, my research area focused on supply chain management and logistics, and then transportation, and then decision science and game theory. And I need the supply chain management and logistics is on my priority because in the past years, my research work mainly focused on this area. Normally, in my research, I focus on the formulate the mathematical model to maximize the profit or minimize the cost of suppliers and retailers in a specific supply chain scenario and the interface between supply chain and marketing area. Then based on the mathematical models, we explore the optimal solutions to the model, and then provide the managerial insights in the real industry practices. And that's my one of the research area. And during the past years, the research work already published in the journal paper, such as operations research and also International Journal of Applied Management Science, and also International Journal of Logistics. This kind of journal paper we already published. And then second area, transportation, and also especially intermodal transportation. And in China, my background focused on train transportation mode, but here we focus on the truck or public transportation system. So, for example, during my research, during my PhD program, we formulated the mathematical models to minimize the operating cost of carriers by exploration the location and the number of stops and etc. So we still focus on the mathematical models. That's my priority. That's my strength area. And then we minimize the operating cost by discussing the location where the stops should be located, and then how many stops from a region to destination, how many stops we should design, and then also the stopping time for the freight or passenger to upload and download. So finally, the objective is to minimize the operations cost, or sometimes we minimize the total waiting time for the passenger. So that's the second research area. And then third one, the fourth, decision science and game theory. Actually, that's my research tactics. we use in our research model. So that's my basic research background. And I did not prepare the PowerPoint here. I just talk about my education background and also the brief research areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chen. I think we are definitely seeing a good theme of transportation here. I think some application under mobility and equity is something we should all be thinking about, how we can apply that in these communities as we're watching these presentations. So anybody have any questions for Dr. Chen? All right, perfect. Okay,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. All right, with that being said, let's move to Dr. Rao. Dr. Rao, whenever you're ready.
Hi, Stephanie, give me a minute. Let me just get set up here. All right. Thank you, Stephanie, for this wonderful opportunity to get to meet some of the community representatives and to be able to present my research. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here. Delighted to meet all of you. Happy to give you an overview on how we've been involved with Georgia Smart for the past few years and all of the impactful projects that we've been doing. So let me share my screen. Okay, can somebody let me know if y'all are seeing my screen?
We can see it, thank you.
Perfect, okay. So as I said, my name is Dr. Arati Rao. I'm a research scientist at the Center for Quality Growth and Regional Development at Georgia Tech. We are located within the College of Design, we primarily work in urban planning. As you can see from my background, I have both academic and practice experience in all of the built environment disciplines, architecture, landscape architecture, urban planning, with a focus on public health. So I do a lot of interdisciplinary work in primarily around transportation planning, sustainability, community development, as well as healthy communities research. So we've been working in the Georgia Smart program now for the past since 2019. So we've been successfully funded by them, and we've been continually working with communities. And what I'd like to mention in terms of the highlights of what we've accomplished is we pride ourselves in doing work that is rooted in communities, that is practice-based. So it's a really good bridge between academia and doing things that are applied for the community. We've also excelled in really connecting the dots for communities and really writing cohesive proposals that have enabled us to then get funded and work in the communities. So when I heard the prior presentations, it's not unusual at all for communities to come to us and say, hey, we've got these varied projects. And what we've really done is been able to connect all of that into a very cohesive, kind of winning proposal. So we start and we're able to start with the visioning and go all the way to implementation and research. So we've really excelled in that process. A little bit about my work. So as I mentioned, a lot of my work has to do with the intersection of kind of the built environment and public health. But I'm very interested in any technology-based interventions that really connects the social with the technical. So all of our projects have really started with the larger social drive or a social context, and then brought it all the way to connect with technology, analytics, tools that really empower communities to really connect the social issues and the social needs with the latest cutting edge technological solutions. So what I'll do is I'll briefly move through. Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to figure out how to forward the slides. So I'd like to present our most recent work through the Georgia Smart program. Our very first initiative was with Macon-Bibb County. And it was really a project that was built around improving digital equity in the community. And what we were successful in is really understanding community need and implementing a solution, and then collecting the data that the solution generated to apply advanced analytics to really bring it full circle and demonstrate to the community how these types of data-based opportunities help the community to really improve their functioning, their ability to engage with citizens, and really promote social equity in the community. So this was our project when the initial vision was to install these large public use kiosks in the community to connect with digitally disadvantaged populations. So we worked in 2 phases. And the first phase was really to understand what really the community needed in terms of service information, because that's the real disconnect, because digitally disadvantaged communities don't have access to information about services. So what types of services were they really looking for? What types of technologies would really help them access these types of services? So one of the first steps was kind of this community needs analysis, but also looking at where vulnerability existed in the community and what were these disadvantaged neighborhoods. So the use of geospatial analytics to understand better where vulnerabilities in the community existed, but also providing a vision for taking technology and deriving insights from that technology. And really demonstrating, for example, the use of advanced machine learning algorithms, which are commonly used, for example, in market research or customer research, to apply that to social needs and social service delivery. So, for example, we took market basket analysis and tried to understand better what baskets of goods or social services were particularly relevant in communities. And then using things like K-prototypes analysis to really understand segments or sub-segments within the community. And so this is really important from a resource allocation standpoint, particularly when you have resource scarce environments and you can't deploy all services everywhere. This was a really useful way to really understand the needs of disadvantaged populations and tailor-make or customize service delivery in these communities. The next project that I'd like to talk about, and Stephanie mentioned this, we work with Clayton County to understand, what a smart pedestrian environment might look like. And really, the project was driven by the fact that the community was determined to have equitable decision-making processes which weren't in place. So how did we enable that? Through the use of technology, through the use of data, and really very robust stakeholder and community engagement processes. So we partnered with a professor in civil engineering, and we were able to create a technical, we deployed technical solutions to create very comprehensive sidewalk inventories, because that is really the foundation upon which we build a sustainability plan, an equity plan for decision making, for where sidewalks need to go, where do they need to be improved, where are the vulnerable populations who need prioritization in the equitable decision making process. So this was a year-long project where we really developed a very robust database. We actually had extensive community engagement. And it was not just through surveys, but we actually had high school students actively involved in these projects, and they came on as interns, and they were actually able to help us collect this data set. So it's really empowering the community from the ground up, and helping them develop the capacity to implement a project like this. And of course, we deployed all the analytics that we had in our toolkit to better understand how the technology would eventually in the short term and the long term improve equity, walkability, and all of those aspects of the community. The next project that we're currently working on is with Henry County. And I, again, heard some commonalities in the prior presentations about, things like there's rapid growth. How do we then wrap our heads around intelligently promoting this kind of growth, economic development? Henry County has a lot of these challenges because they're seeing rapid infrastructure and explosive growth in freight infrastructure. And they really are struggling with a really cohesive way and thinking through how this infrastructure, how this development unfolds without causing unintended harm or consequences to the citizens. So we use this as a way to create a decision support tool, or which we are designing currently, to really help the community channel this growth in a sustainable way, look for opportunities that will help them develop other economic development opportunities, as long as clean energy and those types of opportunities. So we really took a community challenge and connected that with a technological solution. So that's something we've really been very successful at doing. And this is some of the kind of the current analytics that we're running. So for example, we have, we're using things like change detection algorithms and other types of, machine learning methods to detect where high growth areas are, where are there clusters of development. And we're also, what we're doing is we're making an effort to very explicitly incorporate stakeholder feedback into the tool, using methods like analytic hierarchy process, where we really want to understand how the community wants to prioritize what reflects in the tool. So like I said, we have extensive experience, thinking through master planning, urban development, economic development, and really connecting them with technical tools and analytics at various scales, whether it's the region, whether it's at the city level, the county level, at the neighborhood level. So we really excel in really understanding the vision at these various scales and really connecting the dots between social need, community need, and technical solutions that are really reflect the aspirations of the community. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
All righty. Thank you so much, Dr. Rao. Any questions for Dr. Rao about HERP? She has quite a variety of work where she's worked with the partnership before, so those are all great examples of the kind of partnerships that we're looking for. Any questions for her at this time? All righty. All right, we've got 2 researchers left this afternoon. All right, we're going to have next Dr. Bavsar. Whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let me just. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. We're seeing the small version.
Oh, okay, hold on just a second. Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, so first of all, thank you for this opportunity. I joined Kennesaw State University in 2020. Before that, I was in Rowan University, New Jersey. So even though the title says for GA communities, my experience is more related to New Jersey, but I selected two different examples of two projects that can benefit GA communities, so Georgia community. So before that, I have worked extensively in transportation data analytics. I focus on applying AI algorithms for various transportation applications, from intelligent transportation system to surface transportation system. I recently have a US DOT project that focuses on cashless tolling. So as far as applications of AI is concerned, I work on various different transportation data analytics projects. So this was one of the projects that was sponsored by New Jersey Department of Transportation, and the vision was to develop an affordable and portable data collection system, mobile data collection system. The idea here was to, can we utilize existing utility vehicles of DOT and put some sensors around that vehicle so that when vehicle and the vehicle operator is doing its job, the sensors are collecting additional transportation related data. We focused more on payment distress detection. So I had a team of undergraduate students. We started from scratch, worked on different level of sensors. We patented the system. We also tested the system in South Jersey, all from like South Jersey to Delaware. We had a hierarchical AI algorithm, one in sensor side, one in server side, and then there's a communication going on. And we were able to detect pothole cracks, all kind of distress and on payment. So this is the system that we started developing. Simultaneously, we got NSF I-Corp project for the same concept. So we were able to talk with about 109 county, municipalities, and city officials to identify where exactly they fit for this product. So, and what we found out is that even though state DOTs have very expensive equipment to monitor payment distress, it's the counties and cities cannot use it often just because of the cost of the use. So we focused, so our solution fit perfectly for counties and cities where they wanted to, collect data to justify two things. First of all, to justify why you need to replace this 1 mile of the street to the local, to the residents of the community. And the second thing is why you need to, have state or federal level funding to replace the same road. So that also requires that you have a data driven justification. So our solution fit perfectly for that. And right now we are working with the borough of Collingswood, which is also in South Jersey. We are developing a more affordable product for them. Essentially, you just have a smartphone with our algorithm and system, and you can drive around and you can detect potholes and crack. And we are working with them to enhance this system to reach a level of something called payment condition index, which is very important for all counties and cities. So as far as Georgia is concerned, we are focusing on submitting national and regional funding, and we would like to partner with Georgia counties and cities to to identify payment monitoring needs and see if we can submit a proposal, a collaborative proposal. So this was more on payment detection on transportation. The next project is more on connecting health in the medical transportation. So we call it passenger-centered transportation. So this is also started in New Jersey. 3 doctors, fresh MBBS, I can say that, approach us. They are from Inspira Health Network. They approach us in a networking event, and their main problem was that lot of patients were missing appointment, and these patients were specifically from the background that required transportation. So they were missing non-emergency medical appointments. So these are like if you are sick, or the most vulnerable non-emergency appointment is if you are on dialysis. So if you miss that, your patient becomes more vulnerable, and there are more health and personal and healthcare related expenses. So then we developed a team, and we were able to get some initial health hack award from Inspira to develop this thing. The problem was that initially we thought that the cost of the travel is a problem, but according to study done by Uber and Lyft, cost is not the only solution. Patient also requires more, some kind of more understanding, and that was the problem. That what is this? So ride sharing is not the only solution. So we came up with our own idea where we want to utilize shared economy model, but we also want to make sure that the patient feels comfortable from home to healthcare provider, and then on a return trip from healthcare provider to home. And in addition to that, we also explored a solution that can we use the remote health monitoring devices while patient is traveling to optimize the time so that patient can spend more time with doctors and less time in waiting. So this was the solution we developed. We patented this thing around, I think, a year back or something. We started a patent. These are our goals. Make transportation more affordable, more personal, and it's always patient-centered. This is where we are right now. We have our own research smartphone application ready. We are trying to implement that in New Jersey. We are focusing on identifying human subjects in specific area in New Jersey. We are trying to work with trying to finalize something called institutional review board that is required to do human subject research. And then we'll work with Rowan University and Inspira Health Network to conduct the study. We are also in process of NIH STTR submission, and this is where we definitely need Georgia community help, because I'm assuming that there is a lot of Georgia community may also need this kind of help to solve last mile problem specifically for medical transportation. So I just prepared a very quick 5-minute presentation. Any questions?
Great, thank you so much. That's great insight on quite a few different projects that you've been working on. Does anyone have any questions? Alrighty, perfect. So our next presenter is going to be Dr. Abid. Dr. Abid, are you here with us?
Yes, I am, dear Stephanie.
Great, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and share my presentation. Please. I don't know if you can see the presentation, Stephanie.
We can see it, and that's fine, but it is the small version if you want to try to make it into the full screen version.
Okay, so okay, this way.
Perfect. All righty.
Okay, so hi everyone. So my presentation is about smart grids and renewable energy integration into smart grids. So I'm an associate professor at Columbia State University. So I got my PhD in 2010 from Auburn University. I came as a Fulbright scholar as a student, and I was back as a Fulbright scholar faculty. So to University of Houston in 2017. So I was researching cloud computing, then to Purdue University in 2018.
So sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Abid, but we are having a little trouble with your audio. You might need to speak up or potentially move closer to the mic. You're just going in and out just a little bit.
Okay. So let me give it a try. So you can hear me better now?
Yes, we can hear you better now.
So which means I just have to talk maybe loudly, yes?
Yes, sorry about that.
No, that's okay, that's okay. So yes, I was saying, yes, I graduated from Auburn University in 2010 in computer science. So I was a Fulbright scholar as a student. I went as a Fulbright scholar as well in University of Houston in 2017. I researched cloud computing, then Purdue in 2018, where I worked in smart cities. So after graduation, I left to Morocco. I spent there like 10 years. Then I'm just back this year to Columbia State University, Georgia. So my research interests are in cloud computing, big data analytics, smart grids, smart cities, and wireless mesh networks / Internet of Things. So the topic I want to talk about today has to do with energy. And all of us, we know that the world these days is turmoil and because of the energy. So the energy is becoming very critical. So smart grid, so I'll try to be brief. So I think most of you have heard about that unprecedented 2003 Northeast blackout, as you can see from the pictures. All region of north of the US has been blacked out for like hours. Okay? And this was due to plenty of factors. So the assigned task force just said that there was no single cause to the blackout and the cascade because it was cascading. However, there are major causes. So I wouldn't list all of them, but one major cause, as we might know, is that electricity is hard to store. Okay? In fact, with huge amounts, you cannot store it. You can just think about the batteries, for instance, how expensive they are, and they're storing just a very small amount of electricity. Let's take an electrical vehicle. So the best electric vehicles nowadays with Tesla, I think we can afford like maybe 12 hours of running. So yes, so when you have a lot of electricity produced, and you're not using it, so it's gonna cause blackouts. So the problem was with this storage, and there was a lack of information. So in the ordinary grid, so you produce electricity, but you don't know who's using what, who's consuming what. Now the situation is further worsened with the penetration of renewable energies, whereby the consumers, the citizens, will be producing energy as well. I don't know what's the real status here in the US, but in Europe, they are already legislature for renewable energy production by small companies and ingest them into the grid. So when we say smart grids, so the smartness comes from the tracking of the information. So you track the information in real time, you analyze it, you process it, then you come into the decisions, for instance. Okay, so yes, how the grid, the electrical grid became smart is thanks to the information communication technology, and there is an infrastructure called AMI, the Advanced Metering Infrastructure. Okay, so when it comes to smart cities is a big subject. Okay, so it involves smart transportation, smart health, smart communication. It's a very broad subject. But one essential component of it is the smart energy. And smart energy, when you say smart energy, you're talking about smart grids. So as you see here, the smart grids, you can connect everything. So you have the factories, you have the houses are producing, you have the electrical vehicles. So this is making challenge. So imagine like 10 years from now, we have, let's say, like 30% of vehicles running in US or in Europe are electrical vehicles. So can we afford that electricity? Because electricity, you have to predict, you have to know in real time who's consuming what. Okay, so this is a big challenge, and I think this is a handicap, a hurdle in the road towards deploying electrical vehicles, but it's coming. It's coming. It's just a question of time. Okay, so yes, smart grids are, there is further demand, and they are gonna prosper further. Yeah, so as we say here, smart grids are emerging as a very promising technology to cope with stochastic demand. So we say stochastic demand because there is like, it's not random, but it's stochastic. You don't know who's going to ask for electricity and when. You don't know when people are going to travel using electrical vehicles and so on. So we have distributed renewables, you have solar, you have wind, and the electrical vehicle, of course. So with smart grids, the prices of electricity will become variable because we'll have like peak demand. It will tell you, look, kilowatt is going to cost this. By not, it's this. You have to schedule. Okay, so especially with the penetration of the electrical vehicle. Okay, so yes, quickly. So ideally, so here we're talking about microgrids. So a smart grid is made of a set of microgrids, and the microgrid, the definition of it is like an island that can afford self-containing in terms of electricity demand. Okay, why? So think of it like this: it's ideal for university campuses, so for small cities. Okay, so when you have renewables, you have batteries for storage, and so on. So you can connect and disconnect from the grid. Okay, you have your own electricity. You are saving money because you're producing electricity. You're saving CO2 in the air, so you're contributing into better climate, okay, and alleviating the climate change. Yes, so this was like an introduction. So in terms of previous research, so in 2017, so in Morocco, I was directing a project financed by USA, National Academy of Science. It was something humble, so nevertheless it was very good. So the title was Towards Smart Microgrids, Renewable Energy Integration into Smart Buildings. So here we're taking the smart building into play. Why? Because you have smart grid, the microgrid, and in the microgrid you have smart buildings. So yes, so this was with partnership with a colleague from University of Houston. Okay, so the project abstract, so I wouldn't elaborate here a lot. So this has to do with energy efficiency. Yes, the energy is becoming a concern worldwide, so everybody is aware of these things. And we humans, human beings, in the whole world has to cope with this. Yes, so we said the smartness is thanks to the information and communication technology. And smart building, yes, according to some figures from the US Department of Energy, so the buildings, they count for 41 total consumption. You say buildings, you're talking about residential buildings and also industrial. So the project was in a campus. So this is the campus of Al Hawaii University in Morocco. So we picked this building as a smart building, and we were intending to put the solars in here in the park. Yes, so the components, we have the renewable energy, the solar, we have the storage, a battery, and of course the information and technologies. Okay, so this is the general architecture of the project that we had. So we wanted wireless sensors to sense the data. Okay, the data will be stored for analytics. Once the analysis is done, so appropriate actions are sent to a national instrument, Compact Rio, controller that would decide whether the electricity will be injected into the grid or sent to the battery, and also to instruct the battery, okay, to get the energy back to the building. So this was the initial plan. Okay, so what we deployed, so we deployed a wireless mesh network, so using sensors in the building. So this is building 7. So these sensors, they are collecting data. So basically we use the temperature and the humidity, okay, because this was a kind of a test bed. We deployed, so for research purposes, we deployed our own sensors. So using Arduino Nano and using ZigBee for the communication. So this is the sample of the sensor. For the data, so we had a student. So we had 2 PhD students. So one worked on this, on the wireless sensor networks, and the other one worked on the data analytics. As you might see here, what we did, we just connected some Raspberry Pi cards. Okay, we connected them using a switch. Okay, and this is for the disks outside. So this is for research, of course. We named it Nano Data Center because we had here something like 10 computers in small boards. Yes, this is for from the lab in building 7. So this is our installation. So we had, this is the compact Clio controller. This is the battery. This is the TV for displaying read data and status of the microgrid test bed in real time. We have inverters and so on. Then at the end, so because of the money budget and so on, we ended up by deploying 2 solar panels next to the building. So this room here, so this was deployed in this building at Al Hawaii University in Morocco. Yes, we had 2 PhD theses already defended. We had student Safa Burhanan who defended thesis, and the title towards smart microgrid, a wireless sensor HPC, high performance computing based platform for smart buildings data acquisition and processing. And the other students, both of them, defended last year before I left Morocco to the US, a wireless sensor based and context-aware energy management system for smart buildings. So this is their publications. So this is with the Safa Burhanan, so the first PhD student, and this is with the second PhD student. Okay, so now what I'm just landing in. So this is my second semester. So I'm trying to leverage what we acquired in this project. Thanks again to USA, the US National Academy of Sciences. So what I spotted in here, so one observation that I shared with my colleagues is that here in Georgia, basically, it's rarely where we see solar panels. And the area is very sunny one, so I don't know why. If you compare it with Europe, they don't have a sun, it's not sunny, and the solar energy is everywhere. So this is a question, so I'm still asking this question. I get some answers, but I didn't converge into like a conclusion. Why is it? I don't think because the solar panels are expensive, but nevertheless, so we scientists, we keep doing our research. So what I thought about, so here in Columbus State University, we have this Schuster student success center, as we see. So this is a panel that I did spot, and it has no solar in here. Okay, so a terrace is already existing in the roof of the building and well oriented to the south. So which means when the building was designed, it was designed with the vision to have solar panels on it. Because the south, it's the optimal direction for optimal solar radiation. So this is a short-term project, and we want to, so as a smart building, it's not only renewable energy, but to have the building also as a smart building, in the sense that it has storage, it knows we have sensors and so on in the region. So when I say the region, so maybe the southeast of Georgia. And as a midterm project, is to have CSU campus as a pilot smart microgrid. Why not? So this is the ideas what I'm shooting at, targeting to find collaborators and people who are interested. And prospecting Columbus as a smart city, why not? And during this presentation today, when we had Mr. Mayor of the Watkinsville, yeah, it was, I said, okay, Watkinsville, they already have some ICT infrastructure installed. It's a relatively small city, and it's manageable because when it's a small city, yes, it's ideal to deploy like a smart city, especially that the mayor, he mentioned that there is traffic congestion related to transportation. Okay, so I tried to be brief. Thanks for having me among this community, and thank you.
Thank you so much, and especially for including your thoughts here with us at the end about the presentations that we saw earlier. Thank you, Dr. Abid. I'm just looking at our attendee participant list, and I'm seeing that there are a couple more researchers on the line here today. So I just wanted to reach out in case there are any additional researchers who would like to give a brief presentation. The floor is certainly open. Are there any thoughts from our other researchers on the line? All righty. Okay, well, with that being said, I want to thank all of you for being here this afternoon. At this point, it looks like this is a good opportunity for us to break out into breakout groups to discuss some potential proposals. Let me turn my video on so you guys can see me. Hi. And so what I'd like to do is be able to separate you guys out into two breakout groups, pretty easy. The first one is going to be with my colleague, Polly and Cody. And they are going to focus on researchers who are interested in working with Rowan. And then alternatively, the second breakout group is going to be with myself and Madison, and that's going to be focused on researchers who are interested in working with the city of Watkinsville. Certainly, these are not exclusive. We are going to provide a contact list so that you all can contact both each other and the community representatives in the future. So don't feel like just because you choose one breakout group that is excluding you from the opportunity of working with the other community. But we do want to just kind of generate some initial discussion about what projects you guys think could be a potential good fit in these communities. And we'll take some notes on that so that we can bring that back to the community representatives. You'll see that unfortunately, both of our community representatives did have to leave the event a little early before the breakout group. So we do apologize about that, but please know we are going to be recording your thoughts about projects that you feel like could be a good fit, potential proposals, general thoughts about their presentation. We will record all of that on your behalf in these breakout groups so that we can ensure that they get that information and are able to have a connection with you guys. So with all that being said, we're gonna, like I said, breakout group number 1, if you are a researcher who is interested in working with the Rowan Foundation, remember that presentation was given by Mason Ailstock. Please feel free to join breakout group number 1 with my colleagues Polly and Cody. And then those of you who are interested in working with Rowan, please feel free to join breakout group number 2, which will be with myself and our GRA Madison. And just come prepared to share some of your ideas for potential projects or how you feel like your research might benefit their communities. With that being said, just give me 1 second to set up these breakout groups. And finally, I'll just mention, if you get into a breakout group and notice that everyone is in that breakout group, please consider moving to the other one. Again, it will not exclude you from working with that community, but we do want to kind of make sure our breakout groups are evened out. So please just try to keep that in mind as you select your breakout group as well. Alrighty, so just give me 1 moment while I set up these groups, and we will reconvene in just a couple of minutes in the breakout groups. Oh, fine. I should also mention, we're going to do about 20 minutes in the breakout groups. So with that being said, obviously, you'll probably have some thoughts remaining. So if that's the case, please know that, again, we will be putting you in contact with these communities. And we'll return to this room after the breakout group for a very short closing. I do hope that those great breakout groups were extremely helpful to you guys about making connections with your fellow researchers from across the state, and B, beginning to generate ideas for potential projects that might help to benefit those communities that we were able to hear from earlier today. Certainly, we do hope that you will be able to connect with those communities, and we are going to send out an email that includes a contact list so that you guys can reach out both to your colleagues and to those communities with your ideas for proposals. We appreciate that this is not an insignificant amount of time that you spent in being here with us today, sharing about your research and engaging with your colleagues. And so we want to thank you for that time that you've spent. And we hope that it is something that you're able to leverage into an applied community research project. With that being said, I just want to briefly go over our upcoming opportunity so that you can consider it over the next 45 days or so. We have at the partnership, we have tons of opportunities. And I know some of you guys were talking to Cody about potentially being a host site for student interns later next summer. And so please do feel free. I will include actually his Smart Community Core information in the email that goes out to you guys, just in case you're interested in following up with that. But one other opportunity, and so with that being said, we always have opportunities open. One opportunity that I very specifically want to draw to your attention is our open call for proposals. We actually have this call that's open all year round, but we're going to review proposals beginning on December 15th. So if you would like to be considered in this round, potentially with some of your colleagues here or with one of the communities we heard from, we do encourage you to submit those proposals before December 15th. We'll also be marketing this opportunity over the coming weeks to let the greater community know about it as well. So please feel free to share this opportunity with your colleagues, just because we want to make sure that as many people know about this opportunity as possible. I'm going to quickly share my screen to show you guys the website and how you can access the information. So this is the partnership's website. You can see this is the page where you can apply for this open call for proposals. This is meant to be a very low barrier to entry proposal for pilot funding. So this is just something to get you started with the community so that you guys can have an opportunity to both build your partnership and find out those basic steps for the beginning of a project. We kind of view this as like a pilot. It's seed funding to kind of get a project kicked off. So you can see all the information about the funding opportunity here, and you can see the full proposal requirements here. And again, this is just a 2-page document. It is meant to be, I don't want to say easy to fill out, because the back end is really you working out with your colleagues and community that you'll be working with about the project parameters, but it's meant to be somewhat of an easy application process. A couple of things that I will note is that it is highly encouraged that you have a multi-university, multidisciplinary project. And it does say highly encouraged, but I will tell you, it is more so a requirement that these projects have researchers from at least 2 universities and at least 2 disciplines within the state of Georgia. Communities and researchers do both need to be located within the state of Georgia. And it doesn't necessarily, like I said, have to be the communities that you met with earlier today, although we certainly highly encourage it. But it can be your local community. It can be a community you might already be doing some research with. So we really encourage you to kind of keep this opportunity in mind because it is always open. We generally have these proposals, review these proposals, twice per year. So the next time the review will begin is December 15th. So please keep that in mind.
And when is the one after that, Stephanie?
So the next one will likely be in April, potentially late April or early May. So again, if you miss this one, next one will be kind of rolling right around. And you should also keep in mind, I know a lot of you had big transportation interests. Certainly that was one of the focus points of this event. So if you have transportation interests, we are going to hopefully have a Georgia Smart cohort that's going to be focused on mobility and equity, probably in the spring semester of next year. So if that's an interest point for you and you want to go ahead and start thinking about what those proposals might look like, we highly encourage that as well. You can check out our Georgia Smart website and all the requirements for that too. With that being said, are there any questions? I want to make sure that I really address anyone's questions.
Hey, I have a quick question. I want to know, to submit the proposal, is it just a starting point or we need to write the details, how the project, what's the details of the proposed project we need to do, or just a proposal to partnership with some institution or some researchers?
Yeah, so it's definitely a proposal in the way that it's much like a traditional grant proposal. You're going to talk about what your scope of work is going to be, what the outline of the project is. It's definitely more in depth than just an intention to partner, although we certainly would encourage you to include any letters of agreement that you might have with the community in order to kind of support that proposal. But yes, you will definitely need to have an outline of whatever your work is going to be, the deliverables, those type of things.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Dr. Bobsar?
Can you post that link of the application? I was not able to find on your website. So
yes, of course. I will throw that into the chat right now.
thank you.
Of course. And like I mentioned before, I will be sending out an email either later today or early on Monday morning that will provide you guys with a summary of this event, a contact list of the attendees, and including the links for the symposium, for the open call for proposals as well, so that you guys can have a chance to connect with any colleagues that you are interested in working with. So with that being said, again, thank you so much for the time that you spent on this event. Please encourage your colleagues. If you know of folks who might benefit from the partnerships programming, we want to hear from them, communities, researchers. Please send them our way. Myself, my colleagues, Polly and Cody, would be happy to hear from them. So we highly encourage you to continue to engage with the partnership, whether you decide to continue with our proposals or not. So thank you so much for your time. We hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Cody left. It really wasn't urgent. I was just
waiting to see if he comes back.